All right, so here we are. Time to wrap all this up. Now that we've got our own custom content brought in, functional, and the whole 9 yards, let's go ahead and get back to Matinee and tie all of this stuff in with one another. So first thing I want to do, let's go ahead and come over here. And this guy right here, obviously we don't want to have to trigger that. We want a movie that plays itself, and she's going to be triggered at the right moment and all that good stuff. So I'm going to come over here and grab this and simply delete it because we don't need that. All right, so with that out of the way, the next thing I want to do, we can, for the time being, go ahead and close all of our browsers down, is let's go ahead and get Matinee back open. And let's go ahead and get our bearings here. Where are we at? So right now, here's our first sequence. There's our second sequence. And then there's our third sequence where we zoom down all the way up to the door right here. So let's go ahead and put it in place so that we can kind of wrap around her, if you will. So maybe we can start out. Let's make this kind of interesting. Maybe we start out kind of low. Ooh, not that low. And maybe right about there. So what I'm going to do, again, with the last one selected, last action that is, come over here to Tools and just add an interpolation point and an action, and then maybe just come up over here someplace, kind of high, maybe back that away.
Nice and slow.
Add an interpolation point and action there. Okay, so let's just back out over here. I'm going to hit W for the time being. Come over to Actions, and you'll see our last segment. There it is, 0 and 0. First 0 is okay because it's going to be an instant camera cut again. Second 0, though, that's not good. I need to go ahead and set a duration, and my animation is approximately 14 seconds. So let's go ahead and type in 14 right there. So that should be good. Now let's go ahead and make the style of the path a little more interesting. So Bezier, there's my weird S, and we'll come up here and right-click, straighten this out. And we want to just kind of wrap around something like that. And right now we're going to be inheriting the interpolate cam orientation type. So what I want to do, instead of that, since remember we proved that she's not physically moving. I mean, we see her moving, but the actual actor stays put. So I can't say to actually track her, okay? So what I'm going to do is just come somewhere right about, maybe I'm just getting picky, right about here. Come over to Tools and add a look target like such. And then come back over to Actions, and with the beginning of the last segment selected, come to Sub-Actions, and then come in here and go ahead and add a new Sub-Action Orientation. And then we can go ahead and come down here to Orientation, Cam Orientation, and change our type from Face Path over to Look at Actor. And then we'll come down to our Look At and say Use. So that's going to have us pointing right here at this as she kind of runs forward. So I'm just kind of grabbing an average, if you will.
Right.
All right, so with that in place, she's now looking at it. Let's see. Anything else inside here I want to do? Nah, I think all that's going to be good. Here is something we can do, though, to make things a little bit nicer. And that is, let's go ahead and throw some fades in. Let's have it fade up at the very beginning. Let's have a fade right here and a fade out at the end because, again, we're wrapping all this into a final movie, and the fades are going to make things look a lot nicer. So starting out right here, the very first action, let's come over here to Sub-Actions and add in a Sub-Action Fade. And by default, it is set to fade out. Well, it's not too often you see a movie start by fading out. So let's go ahead and set that to false. We can, if we'd like, adjust our fade color, you know, for those of you out there that like large explosions, blood, etc., etc. Maybe you want to fade from white or bright yellow or whatever, red. But we'll leave ours as black because that's going to look good. And the time. We want no delay. We want this thing to begin fading in. Let's say the fade's going to take, what do you say, maybe 3 seconds.
Okay.
We'll give 3, so it's a nice, slow fade in. All right, so that's what's going to be taking place there. Now, we'll have, so that's first segment, second segment, a third segment. I want my third segment, I want it to fade out at the end of the third segment, and then we'll fade up at the beginning of this inside part here. It'll look kind of interesting, and it'll show you how you'd go about figuring all this out. So let's say it's going to be a 2-second fade out. And what I'm looking at right here is we've got 6 seconds now. I'm going to come over to Sub-Actions and go ahead and make sure I got the right one selected. So come over here to Sub-Actions, add a Sub-Action Fade in place. And with the Sub-Action Fade, we want to go ahead and delay how long? Maybe 4 seconds?
4 seconds.
And the duration is going to be a total of 2 seconds. So coming back over here, making sure that... So, yeah, that's good. So that, of course, gives us our total of 6 seconds. So, and we will leave our fade out set to true this time around. Now what I'm going to do is jump down here to the beginning of the last segment, come over here to Sub-Actions, and tell this that I want to do a fade in. So we'll go ahead and add a fade, And do we want to fade out? No, we want to fade in, so we'll set that to false. Black is fine. Delay, we'll leave that at 0, and we'll say that the fade in time is going to be over 2 seconds. And then let's go ahead and quickly add one more fade and say we are going to fade out with this one. We're going to delay a total of 12 seconds since it's a 14-segment segment. And then we'll come down here and say 2 seconds to fade out. So now we've got all sorts of fades coming in and out, so that's really nice. Now we need to make sure that her action begins. That's right, it begins when we get in here on this particular one, this last segment. So at the beginning of the last segment of the 4 segments that we've put in there, we'll come over here to sub-actions, and we'll come down here and add a sub-action trigger, where we'll simply say that the event name is going to be what?
Start action.
Start action, absolutely. Okay, so that's pretty nice. So it's really all starting to come together. But there's a couple of more things that we can do real quick. First of all, let's come over here to our AI script and come back over into Properties, AI script, Actions, and let's take a look at what's happening in here.